Oh, hey folks, Dude here, coming to you with a much belated and probably not very well executed, but I didn't know how I was going to place this. I don't know if I was going to say it was a knife blog or if it was going to be a repair video. So, case in point, it's going to be both. So, got something off of eBay, obviously got something off of eBay, and the item that I got off of eBay is, of all things, it is a Gerber knife. Another Gerber knife. I'm like in a Gerber thing for some reason. But this one happens to be the Gerber knife model number 7024 or 7024, which is the bolt action exchange saw utility hunter blade setup. So, case in point, what did I get? Well, I got the knife, I got the sheath, which is the specific style of sheath for this knife. I got a spare Gerber sheath. I don't know if this one is going to be knife specific, but let's just take a quick snoop anyway. And it is basically just a generic Gerber single pocket, nothing crazy, spare sheath. Is it correct for this knife? No. This knife is actually a specific booger requiring certain things that are completely different. So let's just tuck this guy off to the side and you guys will see what I'm talking about here. Now, case in point, this knife becomes very specific and very special. Involving itself with is really this. First and foremost, it is it's the bolt action knife of which everybody knows, it's been around forever. You got the lock. Basically, you open the blade, it locks by the blade moving into a detent area where the bolt slides forward and then locks onto the spine of the knife. Standard stuff, nothing crazy, right? Now, this one was actually a little bit of a repair piece simply because I wanted to get this set up exactly as it sits. Decent price, not too terribly bad. These coins, call them what you will. It is a stainless steel, very barely magnetic piece of metal. Now, case in point, it was not on the driver's side. It was on the passenger side, of which I carefully removed it and then crazy glued it with, the serious super glue, which is actually the one intended with a little bit of grit in there. It's actually intended to stick metal together. So hopefully that's going to stay in there. Really squirted a good quantity in there, hosed it out, wiped it off real fast. So it is on like Donkey Kong. Now, this is what model is known as the Exchange Blade. Now, there's a reason why they call it the Exchange Blade, is because if you look at the blades, well, they have a little quirk about them. Case in point, if you were to look at the driver's side of this, you wouldn't see just a standard style of pin. It would look like a D. It's got a flat spot ground in it. Now, you would ask yourself, why would they make a pivot pin in a knife with a D shape to it? Well, very simply put, this knife was built in a certain way so that it is an exchange knife blade knife. So literally you have the Velcro covering, which is pretty much just holding in the main deal, but there's a secondary pocket here. Unclip that, and there is two more blades on board, and it's a very, very snug fit, and I want to be very, very careful because the sheathing is old plastic. It's about ready to break and all the rest of that nasty stuff like that. There, you see it did come with the gut hook, and it did come with the saw blade. Now, I was talking about that D cutout. The D cutout is intended because the blades can be exchanged in the body of the knife. So, we have the gut hook. So, we have the saw blade. So, we have the standard configuration blade. And the way this works is you break the action. You basically release the bolt. You pull the knife down about 45 degrees or so. And there's like a slip over point where you pull the bolt back and the knife blade slides out of the knife. So I'm simply going to exchange that blade for this blade. Was not a magic trick, nothing crazy. You kind of have to figure it by, just jiggle it around a little bit. And there is a sweet spot to do it in. It's about 45 degrees or so. So, it's in, it locks, it unlocks, it's in the blade, it's in the knife. Everybody's all together, everybody's happy. Get that little happy spot and kind of jiggle, 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 find the happy spot, and you will feel it go to the gated area and slide out. Now, conversely, I'll do it with the saw blade as well. Now, the reason why I jumped on this particular knife is I got to do some zoomy action, so you guys are going to have to give me my pause here, so let me find my little zoomy guy. So hopefully we can kind of do the little focus booger, but let's zoom on in. Not going to find my focus again. And hopefully you guys can see it. Hopefully you guys can see it. You know what, let me flip my light around so you guys have a better view. Okay, you see there it says saw blade, obviously. So let me flip this around so I can read it with my own eyeballs. It says bolt action exchange saw blade. Okay, so keep myself honest here. Pop that little booger on out. Find the little sweet spot again. It's a little hard to do backwards. I'm not a lefty. So do it with the gut hook. Gut hook goes on board. And you can see this one says bolt action exchange Skinner blade. Notice it does say Gerber bolt action on the handle. Of course, on this side, it says the same thing. No, it says made in USA, patent number 4451902, I think it is. But to keep myself honest, let me slide this booger on out here and put the original standard blade back in place. Now you see it actually does have a slot, nothing crazy there, and it does slide over the pivot pin. Let me get myself lined up here. Hang on a sec. I'm screwing it up. Now, the only thing you really got to be careful about is, actually, it is a knife blade, so if you grab it the wrong way, you will get bit. Grab it by the sides. So you can see it's on board. It does say Gerber. On this side, it says nada. On this one, it says Gerber as well. But it's the old style font, so this is old poop, man. This is like a 1980s configuration knife. Notice it is a stamp. It is not like like a one of those deals where they basically did like this script where they just kind of oxidized it in, or they they etched it into place. And it is a black. I don't know why it's showing up pink on my camera, but it is actually a like a gray, blackish gray. Kind of one of those things where they do the development and what have you. But I am not too terribly unhappy to have this knife in my collection currently. So we have saw blade. We have the Skinner blade. I call it just a gut hook. It is what it is, okay? And there's only one of these little sheets. But the thing is, these plastic sheets had a sticker on it, and there was two of them to carry the spare blades, which was in its own little compartment, which is a piece of metal, which is showing in some of the wear areas. And that was the other thing, too, is this sheath has seen some abuse. Okay, so I took this sheath out of the package, and it did not look. I don't know why this color shift is going on. It's kind of weird, but I might actually be able to adjust it out, or I just simply will just have to. I'm just going to leave it in. Okay, I'm not going to mess around with anything here, simply because I have it running, and trying to play with a video while it's running is not a good time. So I know that there's like this pink or red shift, but that's not correct. But this thing, when it came out of the box, was rough, and I do mean rough. Like I took a magic marker, completely re-dyed it, so it looks much better than its original state. Also, conversely, the person that carried it hung it up on something and ripped the pocket off of this seam. So I literally restitched that seam and trying to make it look about as factory as possible. Not exactly the same thing, but real damn close enough. The Velcro was coming off. This Velcro was full of all kinds of just gack. So all these things had to be taken into account, and what's going to happen is I have a Gerber store display up in the me room, so this thing is going to find itself into the me room on full display. So, case in point, I want to basically kind of give you guys a little bit of a heads up, a little bit, let me put this thing in the non-dirty end. I want to give you guys kind of a heads up, want to kind of give you a little bit of a knife blog entry here, and this is kind of a cool knife. I mean, the exchange blade setup, Gerber has not stopped making that style of knife. They still make an exchange blade knife to this very day. Now, the thing is, the current exchange is not based on the bolt action knife. This actual knife has been discontinued. Now, also, the larger brother to this, the Parabellum, I have a couple of those. That one has also been discontinued. And this one is very much an old, well, not new old stock, but it's definitely an older piece, and I gave it a recovery, and it looks way better than it did when I took it out of the box, man. I took it out of the box, and it was looking about 9 kinds of rough. Now, in my heart of hearts, I would absolutely love to take this this patch off and put it onto this, but you know what? One of these things is not quite like the other, and, you guys can see it for what it's worth. This thing has seen many days outdoors, and this does not look nearly as good as this, okay? So, also the other thing, too, is I don't even know if this one is the same kind of Cordura as which this one is, but conversely, I could actually put this thing through the washing machine and, hope for the best, and, it might or it might not survive that, but you know what? Just doing what I did to it, it looks good enough, and it's going to go on display in my Gerber knife display, and it's going to be an exchange blade in my collection. So, folks, I commend this to you. This is the Gerber exchange blade, of which you have any of the bolt action knives. You know, the blades are roughly the same size. There's nothing crazy about it. It is absolutely one of the cooler knives that Gerber made in that iteration, simply because it was a very exceedingly smooth action for the time. I forget who the actual inventor was for the bolt action setup itself, but it is a very, very, very smooth knife, man. Every one of these I've ever picked up and played with, the blades had a marvelous walk and talk, and the action itself is it's just beautiful. I mean, it's just this butter smooth kind of a feel, and this one's definitely going on display in my knife collection, in the me room, in the Gerber knife display. So the next time this thing's going to be pictured, it will be in that display. The coin needed to go from one side to the other to be correct, and I kind of liked it around the button side, so that's what I did. All right, folks, I'm going to break up this one. Eco Kip tendering is always, you know, you love it. Knife goodness. Never a bad thing. See you guys.